Today's lesson is on molarity. This is part one of a two-part series on molarity, and this part is going to be on solving for molarity. So first, we have to know what molarity is, and you probably already looked this up, so just a little review. Molarity, the symbol for molarity is a capital M, and it really means moles per liter. This is a concentration unit. It tells us how much material is dissolved in our solvent. And you've seen it on bottles in the chem lab. And like the last lab, you saw that we had a 3 capital M HCl solution. And that was a 3 molar hydrochloric acid solution. On those little dropper bottles in the lab, they all have molarity written on them that you might have noticed. For instance, that pink cobalt 2 chloride solution had a label of 0.10 molar cobalt 2 chloride. And that told us how much cobalt chloride or cobalt 2 chloride was dissolved in water. So it's a very useful in chemistry. So how do I solve problems involving molarity? Well, molarity, because it is actually 2 units, it's both moles and liters, it's usually best to solve for them separately. So if I had a problem, I would solve for moles, and then I would solve for liters, and then I would divide the 2, and that would give me the molarity of the solution. So let's try some problems. First, a real simple one. What is molarity of a solution that contains 13.3 moles of sodium chloride in 4.0 liters? So just like our problems before, the first step you would do is look at what are you trying to solve for. I'm trying to solve for molarity. And now I know that molarity is really 2 units, moles over liters. So I'm going to solve for moles, and then I'm going to solve for liters, and then I'm going to divide the 2. But I look carefully at this problem, and I don't really have to solve for moles because they gave me the moles. So that's easy. And I don't really have to solve for liters because they gave me the liters. So the only thing I have to do is divide the 2. So then I take 13.3 moles of sodium chloride over 4.0 liters of solution, and I divide the 2 numbers, and rounding to 2 significant figures, I get 3.3 moles per liter, which is also the symbol capital M. So very simple problem. Let's try one that's a little bit more difficult than that. So let's read this problem. What is the molarity of a cobalt 2 chloride solution that was made by mixing 2.55 grams of cobalt 2 chloride with water until the volume was 250.0 milliliters? So just like any time we've been doing problems, we look, what are we trying to solve for? And here I am solving for molarity again. So I really need to solve for moles, and then solve for liters, and then divide the 2. And this time I'm actually going to have to do that because it doesn't give me moles and it doesn't give me liters. So now, how am I going to solve for moles and how am I going to solve for liters? Well, the problem did give me 2 pieces of information. It gave me grams and it gave me milliliters. Hopefully you can see one will help you find moles and the other will help you find liters. So I'm going to solve for moles first. And I'm going to give you a second. Which one of these 2, the grams or the milliliters, will help me find moles? Hopefully you said the grams. So I'm going to start with 2.55 grams of cobalt 2 chloride. I'm going to put that over the number 1. Then I have to cancel out grams and get to moles of cobalt 2 chloride. So I'm going to look at the periodic table and look up cobalt and look up chloride and take 2 chlorides and add them all together. And I get a number which is 129.839 grams of cobalt chloride for every 1 mole of cobalt 2 chloride. And so the grams cancel and I have moles, which is what I want. So I take 2.55 divided by 129.839 and rounding to 3 significant figures, I get 0.0196 moles of cobalt 2 chloride. So then I've done the first step, solve for moles. The second step, I'm going to solve for liters. Well, the 250 milliliters will help me find liters. So I'm going to solve for liters. And I have 250.0 milliliters times, now I'm going to have to change milliliters to liters. And so hopefully you remember the conversions because you need to know these all year. There are 1,000 milliliters in every 1 liter. So I put the milliliters on bottom so they cancel. And 250 divided by 1,000 gives me 0.2500 liters, 4 significant figures. So I'm not quite done. I have to take the moles and then I divide it by the liters. So I had 0.0196 moles of cobalt 2 chloride. And I had 0.2500 liters of solution. If I divide the two, I get an answer rounding to 3 significant figures again of 0.0786 moles per liter, or I could use just the capital M. And that's of cobalt 2 chloride. So there we have it, ways to solve for molarity, both a simple and a little bit more difficult, but I think you can do both. So give the problems a try, and thanks for listening.